Hello and welcome back once again to the Wrestling Rant. It is Monday, August 5th, 2013, and it is time for Raw, which was apparently live from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Yes, I had to resist doing the Mr. Anderson thing there. Whatever. The show starts off with the intro video, and then they get pyro for once. And once that's all done with, they cut to the ring where Roberts, the ring announcer, introduces Stephanie, who's standing in the ring. And she talks about Daniel Bryan, and how he agreed to try some corporate makeover thing, and they show this video package of the makeover, him getting facial, the mud or whatever the fuck, and they've had him fitted for a suit and all this shit. And then after the video package is over, she introduces Bryan, and he comes out wearing the suit. And he actually looks decent in the suit. He also has his hair slicked back and pulled into like a ponytail in the back. And, so Bryan starts, Bryan gets in the ring, and Stephanie says she's going to let him talk. And she does. He takes the mic, and she just kind of leaves. And he starts talking, and he basically says that no matter what, I'm going to be myself. I'm not going to pretend to be some corporate whatever the fuck, Just that same kind of thing. And so he's talking, and then all of a sudden Vince comes out. And he comes out and he starts talking, and he's basically saying, it's okay, you look all right in the suit, and but he still doesn't think he's fit to be WWE champion. And they're still talking, and he kind of comes around and he says, you know what, I might be okay with you being WWE champion if maybe you did just one more thing. And he has some ring crew bring out the shaving chair. It's pretty much the same chair that Vince got to sit in when he had his head shaved by Trump at WrestleMania the one year. And so yeah, they bring out the chair and they put it right by the ring. And Vince finally sort of convinces Bryan to get in the chair and shave off his beard. That's what Vince wants. He wants Bryan to shave his beard off. And so Bryan's sitting in the chair, and Vince says, you should have a nice trimmed beard, like something like what Wade Barrett has. Come on out, Wade. And out comes Barrett. And apparently, the commentators made mention of this. Apparently, somebody in Barrett's family owns a barbershop somewhere in England, I guess. So, I guess that's a thing. But Barrett comes out, and he's got a bag full of trimming, utensils, shavers, and scissors, I guess, probably. But Barrett goes to shave Bryan, and at first Bryan's just saying, like, can you leave just a little strip in the middle? I just want a little strip here. And Barrett's like, what? But then out of nowhere, Bryan just sort of attacks Wade Barrett, beats the fuck out of him, knocks him into the barber's chair, smacks him around a bit. Of course, Wade's a total bitch, so it's not like it's much, like it's all that hard to do that. Yeah, so he beats up Barrett, and he decides to go up to the stage, and he rips off the nice blazer for the suit, and underneath there's a white shirt that says "The beard is here," and there's an arrow pointing upwards. And basically, this shirt is a parody or a knockoff of the shirt that Cena was wearing not too long ago that said "The champ is here," and it was pointing up, and it had the belt on the over the waist of where the shirt is. And on the back of Cena's shirt, it says, "Our time equals now." And Brian turns around to leave, and as he does, you can see on the back, it says, "Yes plus yes equals yes." So again, basically just a complete parody of Cena's shirt. Whatever, you know. So that's pretty much it for that segment. Oh, hi there. Shut up. After that, they cut backstage to a split screen. We've got two different screens, and on one side you've got RVD walking through a hallway, and on the other side you've got Alberto Del Rio walking through another hallway, and he is accompanied by Ricardo Rodriguez. So apparently tonight, Ricardo is finally back, and he's back from his suspension. I mean, his injury. I mean his fucking suspension. Sorry, WWE, you're not fooling anybody. Yeah, speaking of breaking kayfabe, I happened to catch one of the episodes of that Total Divas show. Don't ask me why I actually watched it. I guess the jiggling of boobs kind of distracted me. I don't really know. But I watched... Well, I don't know if I saw the whole thing, but from where I came in at it, I watched it till the end. And it just strikes me as odd how, in this reality show, they're using just about everybody's real names. You know? The Bella Twins, I believe they use their real names. They have the Funkadactyls, and they use their real names, and all this other stuff. The only exception seemed to be Fandango. He was a big focus of this episode because Eva Marie was trying to be his new dancer. Apparently, this was filmed months ago before Summer Rae became his full-time dance partner, because she lied about having dance experience to get an audition as his dancer, and whatever. But no matter what, every time he was shown on the show, they always called him Fandango. They didn't bother calling him by his real name, which is Johnny, you know. But in any event, yeah, so I saw that. The show wasn't really that good. It's your typical reality show kind of crap. Boobs jiggling notwithstanding, not really all that good. But anyways, back to Raw. Yeah, RVD and Del Rio coming through the backstage hallways. After that, they cut to a commercial, because apparently that match was up next. Or is up next. Like I said, they cut to a commercial. They come back. The Miz is on commentary. And I forgot to mention this, but let's see. It's Jerry and Cole, and JBL is back. So apparently he's done climbing whatever mountain, and he's back on commentary, which is bad, because I was kind of hoping he would stay off commentary for a while. But yeah, Miz is there on commentary with the three of them, so we now have a four-man commentary group, and it's just really annoying at this point. And yes, and they also make mention of the fact that The Miz is going to be the host of SummerSlam. So apparently they've just decided to relegate The Miz to being the host or being the, you know, pre-show or whatever for these pay-per-views. They're not going to bother actually having him wrestle. Just seems kind of dumb. Some people don't like The Miz. Here's my opinion on him. I like him. He may not be the best wrestler, he may not be the best at talking, but he's alright at both of them. And he's definitely a lot better than some of these other schmucks that they've been featuring on the show lately, like Curtis Axel, or Wade Barrett, or the Usos. Okay? So, anyways, he's on commentary with the 3-man shit commentary team, and RVD's music hits, and out he comes. And they show a recap, I think this was 2 or 3 weeks ago, when RVD and Del Rio had a match before, and Del Rio basically faked being hurt or trying to call off the match to get a cheap win. So they recap that. I think that was from SmackDown a couple of weeks ago. They recap that, and then Roberts introduces Ricardo, who is making his return, and Ricardo, of course, introduces Del Rio, and Del Rio comes out to fucking silence because nobody gives a rat's ass about him. They popped more for Ricardo. But anyways, we've got RVD and Del Rio, and we're going to have a match. And this match was crap. It really was. Oh. Right, so anyways, this match was crap. The only things I really noticed about it was they showed Christian watching the match backstage on a monitor, and there was a commercial break in the middle of it, and when they came back from the commercial, obviously the match was still going. Ricardo, of course, he still had that goofy bucket that he's been carrying around, or he was before he was fucking suspended. He decides to put this bucket up in the corner and kind of wedge it between the top 2 turnbuckles, right? And he's like, Del Rio, throw him into it, you know? And so Del Rio goes to throw RVD headfirst into this bucket, but RVD, I guess, sees it coming, turns it around, and throws Del Rio into it. And then I think, after that, he gets a quick little roll-up. He does this thing where he does basically like a leg scissors and kind of rolls him up like that. And he's able to get the win with that. And so RVD wins. He leaves. Del Rio's left in the ring pissed off with Ricardo. And they're kind of arguing, and they're both kind of down on their knees. Del Rio gets up, backs up a couple steps, and then he nails that kneeling super kick right into Ricardo's face. Knocks him out. And then he jumps on top of him, starts beating the shit out of him. He picks up the damn bucket, starts wailing on him with it. And then they go outside the ring. He throws Ricardo out of the ring, and Ricardo flew out of the damn ring. Like, yeah. And out on the floor, Del Rio, I think he threw Ricardo into the ring steps first to kind of loosen him up, and then he wedges Ricardo's head in between the corner of the ring and the corner of the ring steps. He sandwiches his head in between them. And then he backs up, he comes running, and he drop kicks the steps into Ricardo's head, sandwiching it in with the ring. And, you know, yeah. So, I'm kind of wondering what this means for Ricardo and Del Rio, because if the WWE is going to release Ricardo, you know, because of the wellness policy thing and, you know, whatever, it would probably be a bad idea, because without Ricardo, Del Rio is completely worthless. He gets no reaction from the crowd. He's still not all that great in the ring, and he still can't hardly cut promos for shit. So, I don't really see what the point of this would be. If they're trying to turn Ricardo face and have him like debut as an actual wrestler. I know he can wrestle. He is trained. He was in FCW. So they could do that. They might have him go away for a couple of weeks again and then have him actually come back as a wrestler. I really don't know. Or they might possibly be doing a similar thing with Ricardo that they did with Sakamoto several months ago when Sakamoto was with Tensai, and where Tensai would beat the hell out of him after losing a match, but Sakamoto would still be there with him the next week because of loyalty to Tensai or whatever. That might be the case, although I hope not, because I hated that with Sakamoto. And Sakamoto was a trained wrestler too, and they just up and released him once the whole gimmick ran out with that. And it sucked because Sakamoto was a hell of a lot better than Tensai. You could have actually done the same thing with Sakamoto, had him turn face after being beat up by Tensai way too many times. Could have had him get his revenge on Tensai, and then he could have debuted as a face, but then again, what would he do? He's too small and he wouldn't have done much. There's no cruiserweight title for them to fight over. So, I don't know. Anyways, after that, they hype up this match between CM Punk and Curtis Axel. Apparently that's going to be later on, and of course it was brought on because of all the bullshit. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Whatever the fuck. They hype that, and then they cut to commercial. And when they come back, Cody Rhodes is in the ring. And he has a, cardboard box, like a rectangular sort of cardboard box sitting in the ring. And he says he has a gift for Damien Sandow because he's forgiven him or whatever. And they cut to a recap once again of Cody stealing the damn briefcase and then throwing it into the Gulf of Mexico and all this other shit. But anyways, after the recap, they cut back to the ring, and Cody picks up the cardboard box and opens it up, and inside is the briefcase. It's dripping wet still. It's got water in it. It's all green from the sea pollution or some shit, and there's seaweed hanging out of it and shit. And he says, "I'll give this back to Damien. All you have to do is come and get it." Obviously, this seems like a trap. But Sandow comes out anyways, and he says, "Put it down and get out of the ring." And Cody does just that. He puts it down, he gets out of the ring, he's over by the commentary. And then Sandow slides into the ring and goes after the briefcase. Cody slides back in, dives on top of Sandow. They start fighting. They're fighting a bunch, and I guess Damien basically runs off, and he's backing up the ramp. Cody, meanwhile, picks up the briefcase and opens it up, and there's this big bunch of water in it and these more seaweed things, and also the contract, which is completely soaking wet. Looks like it's completely water deteriorated, like it'd be completely worthless. And Cody picks up the contract and the briefcase. He throws the briefcase at Damien, and Sandow's just like, "That's my contract, I want it back," whatever the fuck. It's just fucking stupid. Cody, you lost. Quit bitching. But anyways, after that, they say that it's time for a WrestleMania rematch between Mark Henry and Ryback. If you'll remember way back to my first video, the first Wrestling Rant, the WrestleMania video, I actually forgot to cover their match, but I did mention it in the description. The match sucked. And yeah, so we're going to have a rematch They hype that up, and they cut to commercial. After the commercial break, they show a recap of the segment they showed the other week. Ryback at the catering table and putting the one ring crew guy or whoever he was through the catering table. Whatever. Ryback comes out and Henry comes out, and it's time for the match. And the match is crap. It's fairly short. What basically happens is Ryback jumps Henry at the bell, basically, and he's really aggressive, but then Henry turns the tables on him and starts making a comeback. And Ryback rolls out of the ring, and like he's taking a breather, but the referee's counting, and he gets up to 7, and Ryback's just like, you know what, fuck this, and he walks out. And he don't care. He gets counted out, match is over, Henry wins by count out, shit match is shit, and we move the fuck on. They're hyping up a segment called The Champ is Here, featuring Cena, of course, and that's apparently going to be next. They cut to a commercial break again. When they come back, they're backstage, and the Bella twins are putting on their makeup in a mirror, whatever the fuck. And Eva Marie comes up to them, and I don't remember exactly. She compliments them. They look pretty or whatever. And she also compliments them on what they did to Natalia the other week. The stupid ugly duckling thing and whatever the fuck. And speaking of Natalia, up she comes. And I think one of the Bellas says, you know, speaking of a slap in the face. And then Natalia's like, you know what? This is a slap in the face. And she cracks one of the Bellas right upside the head and then just leaves. And I'm like, yeah, you're damn right. Natalia needs to start kicking these little bitches' asses. They ain't shit compared to her. But anyways, back in the arena, Cena comes out and he talks. And he says a lot of the same shit that Brian said earlier. He said, I'm not going to change for nobody, and I've always been me. Whatever the fuck, Cena. You know what? You've always been you, sure. But you suck. So being you may not necessarily be a good thing. If you're a shitty person in real life, maybe you should try and be somebody else. You know. Try to be a good person. Try to be a good wrestler. That might be a good idea. So he sure as hell can't get that one right. Anyways. I guess Cena gets done talking, and Randy Orton's music hits, and out he comes with his briefcase, and everybody's thinking, oh crap, is he going to cash in? No, because as he gets to the ring, he's got a microphone in his hand. And he basically says that, you know what, it doesn't matter between you or Daniel Bryan who's going to win at SummerSlam. Because the only thing that matters is I have this briefcase, and that means that I'm basically guaranteed to become WWE Champion. And then the Shield music hits. And out come the three of them, and it's looking like they're going to try and jump Cena and Randy. But as they're trying to get into the ring to start this fight going, Daniel Bryan's music hits, and he runs down to the ring and dives in to make sure it's even, 3-on-3. And, they're all like, are we going to fight? Are we going to fight? The Shield guys are like, are we going to get in the ring? Are we going to get in the ring? And then Brad Maddox jumps out on the stage, and he's like, wait. He's not going to let us have any fun. No, but what we're going to have is we're going to have us a 6-man tag match for the main event tonight. Of course, it'll be Bryan, Cena, and Randy versus the Shield. After that, they cut to commercial. When we come back, we're just finishing up the crappy entrance of Tons of Funk and the Funkadactyls, although the Funkadactyls aren't in the match. We're getting a rematch, yippee-ki-yay, of the extremely crappy match that we got, hell, I think it was last week on Raw. And that is a rematch between Tons of Funk and the Wyatt family bitches, Harper and Rowan. So, yeah, the Wyatts come out, the whole entrance, just like always, the lights out and the walking down with the stupid lantern and the whatever. The match is pretty short, and it sucks, and it basically ends exactly the same way it did last week. Harper hits his big discus clothesline, and he wasn't even the legal person in the match, so he gets the hell out of the ring. And then Rowan hits his big running froggy splash, and they pick up the win. Again, crap match. It sucked. You got 4 fucking hosses. Tensai, Brodus, Harper, and Rowan. You got 4 big motherfuckers who suck. Whatever. After the match, Bray gets off his damn rocking chair and gets in the ring. And he hits his stupid finishing move on Brodus. And then he's talking to Kane, or directed at Kane at least. The same sort of shit, follow the buzzards, monsters ain't real, you ain't the devil's favorite demon, that sort of shit. And then it does the little cutaway, like, sort of jump scare thing that they do when they're trying to cut away from one of the Wyatt's horrible-ass segments. But after they do it, all of a sudden it cuts back and Kane's pyro blows up the friggin' stage and we've got the red lights like Kane's gonna come out, but he doesn't. Kane just shows up on the Titantron and he starts talking. And he cuts a fairly good promo, actually, which is hilarious. It's not hilarious because it's Kane. Kane's actually been fairly good about doing good promos. But it's hilarious because, as far as promos, Kane has already killed Bray Wyatt. Kane's talking about being a monster and doing all these horrible things to people, and he does it because he does it for his own personal amusement. And, you know, it's just good stuff. But anyways, the end of his promo basically is, you and me at SummerSlam, and nobody's going to be able to help you. Your Wyatt family, they're not going to be able to help you because we're going to be in a ring of fire, which to me implies an Inferno match, which it's been a long goddamn time since we've had one of those, and I don't even think we've had one during this crappy PG era. Whoa. It's the Sarlacc. Anyways. So, yeah. Basically teasing that we're going to do an Inferno match at the pay-per-view. I'd love to see that. And Kane, of course, lifts his arm and throws him down, and the ring pyro goes off. And that, of course, scares the shit out of the Wyatt family. They got the shit scared out of them the first time when the stage blew up. But in any event, after that, they do the stupid Wyatt cutaway jump scare thingy again, and they cut to commercial. When they come back, they recap the segment from 3 weeks ago where Brock attacked Punk and F5'd him on the announce table, I think. And then they also go over Punk trying to get at Heyman, but being stopped by Curtis Axel from last week. So they're hyping that crap. And they cut backstage to the interview area where Matthews is interviewing Punk. And Punk cuts his promo. First he's talking about his match coming up later on with Curtis Axel. And then after that, he starts talking about his match coming up with Brock. Whatever the fuck. They get done with the promo, and they cut back to the ring where Caitlyn is already in the ring. She gets jobber entranced. And they get a recap from SmackDown this past Friday of when Layla basically betrayed Caitlyn and decided to side with AJ. And so, of course, after that, back to the arena, Layla comes out. And while she's coming out, they do like a picture-in-a-picture thing, and they cut to a little promo segment, like one of those 10-15 second promos or whatever, and it's basically Layla backstage explaining why she betrayed Caitlyn, and it's basically because she says it's because she wasn't getting enough attention. She wants attention. Anyways, back in the ring, it's Caitlyn and Layla. We're having a match. It goes... Caitlyn's dominating for the... Or not Caitlyn. Layla was actually dominating for a while. And then Caitlyn started making a comeback, and all of a sudden AJ's music hits. And she comes down, she skips down to the ring, and she's looking cute as hell like she always does. And she basically distracts Caitlyn long enough for Layla to take control back, and she basically just hits this roundhouse kick, like Trish Stratus's chick kick. She just roundhouse kicks her in the head, and apparently, what was it they called it? Apparently Layla calls that the bombshell. That's what she calls it. I'll tell you what, honey, your career is a bomb. That's for damn sure. But you ain't dropping no bombshells on nobody. Anyways, Layla gets the win, obviously. And whoop-de-doo, Layla and AJ skip away again, whatever the fuck. They hype up a match between Big E Langston and Dolph Ziggler, which is going to be coming up later, and they cut to commercial. When they come back, they show a recap of what happened between Sandow and Rhodes from earlier. And they also announced that Rhodes and Sandow are going to have a match at SummerSlam. And my thought was, okay, it doesn't even seem like there's a stipulation or anything. Can we have it be over the briefcase or something? And finally settle this horse crap between them? Because I'm kind of getting sick of Cody bitching. It's like, Cody, you lost, okay? You got duped. Just accept it and move on. You don't deserve to win Money in the Bank. You should be thankful that Damian didn't beat the fucking piss out of you just to get you off that damn ladder. No, he just kind of shoved you off like the little bitch that you are. He did you a favor by not friggin' destroying you to get up to that thing. So, some courtesy might be nice. Anyways, once again, trying to find my place here. Okay. Yeah, they announced the match for SummerSlam, and when they cut back to the ring, they show that Christian is already in the ring, and so is Heath Slater, flanked by his two buddies in the 3MB. But it's going to be Christian versus Slater in a match. And you'll notice that all 4 of the first matches were crap. And it wasn't until this match between Christian and Slater that we finally got an okay match. Christian wins with a spear. And that was really the only note that I took on the match. Slater, I'm sorry, but he bores the shit out of me, and he sucks. So, I don't want to talk about him. So anyways, after the match, they cut backstage to Punk walking through one of the hallways again. I really like how they do these same goddamn segments all the time. Oh, it's some guy walking through a hallway coming out for his match. Can we get something a little bit more original, for fuck's sake? It's getting old. So, try harder, for God's sake. Interesting. Oops. Okay. Right, so anyways. So they show Punk backstage coming out for his match. They cut to commercial. When they come back, Punk makes his entrance, of course. And then so does Axel. Axel comes out with Heyman, and they're coming down the ramp when all of a sudden they cut back to the ring, and Punk's getting out of the ring, and he's running up the ramp to come after them. And he's trying to go after Heyman, but of course Axel stops him. Heyman runs off. And Punk and Axel start fighting up on the stage. They make their way back down towards the ring. They finally get back into the ring. And we finally start the match. And the match goes for a while. It's actually a decent match. However, there's no real finish. Because what ends up happening... a couple of notes here. During the match... Punk was doing, like, the Indian Deathlock on Axel. At least I think it was the Indian Deathlock. And while he was standing there with the leg all grapevined and whatever you want to call it. He spit, like, his gum out and tried to slap it like Mr. Perfect did. That was something I should have mentioned before. When Punk was cutting his promo before, he brought up Mr. Perfect, Curtis Axel's dad. And, basically said that, even though Mr. Perfect had Bobby the Brain Heenan as his manager, Mr. Perfect still had a mind of his own. But Axel doesn't seem to have a mind of his own. He's just blindly following Heyman. Yeah. But anyways. So Punk tries to spit his gum out and slap it like Mr. Perfect, whatever the fuck. There was a commercial break. And shortly after the commercial break ended, Heyman came back. Of course, while Axel had control of the match. So, Punk starts getting control, and then he tries to go after Heyman again, but what happens is, it's the old routine. He's chasing the guy around the ring, and Axel comes out of nowhere and clotheslines the fuck out of Punk on the floor. Whatever the fuck. Back in the ring, they continue fighting the match and whatever, and... Punk finally gets Axel down. They're right over by the ropes. And Heyman's right over there by the apron, and he's kind of looking into the ring. Punk grabs him by the head and starts dragging him into the ring, and for some reason the referee calls for the bell. Ding, 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 match is fucking over. And they don't even announce a winner or a loser, so I don't know who in the hell won or who lost. So, I got no clue. This is what I was meaning when I said there was no finish. Well, I guess there was a finish. It was a dusty finish, and it sucked. Again, don't know who in the hell won. I would have to say no contest, probably. But, whatever. After that, the match ends, and Punk's trying to beat up Heyman. But he's got Heyman in the ring, and Brock's music hits. So out comes Lesnar. And Punk's in the ring, he's ready, and he backs up a little bit, right over by the ropes, obviously. And Axel trips him from the outside, pulls him out, but Punk turns it around immediately and hits the go to sleep on him. Back in the ring, or not back in the ring, while on the outside, Punk and Brock start fighting, and they're wailing on each other. Punk was actually kind of holding his own against Brock. But Brock eventually, inevitably, gets the upper hand and he starts beating on Punk. But Punk turns it around. They both wind up back in the ring. And Punk was trying to hit Heyman over the head with a chair. Brock comes from behind, grabs the chair, throws it out of Punk's hands, and immediately picks Punk up and hits the F5 on him. And lays him out. And then Brock, the camera cuts over to Heyman, and he's like, Brock, hurt him! Hurt him! And so Brock picks up the damn chair and just starts wailing on Punk's back with the chair. And that's pretty much it for the fight. And so they cut to a commercial break. Oops. They cut to a commercial. When they come back, they recap what just happened. And then backstage, Renee Young is doing an interview segment with Axel, Brock, and Heyman. And Brock starts things off by... I don't even remember what the hell he said. He said it in a really high-pitched, squeaky voice, so I kind of had to make fun of him for having such a stupid voice. And then he looks over at Heyman and he says, Paul, say something stupid. And I'm like, irony, because you just said a whole lot of stupid shit. But anyways, Heyman says, you know what? He actually does end up saying something stupid. He's saying some shit, and then he basically challenges Punk to a match next week on Raw. And that's a match between Punk and Heyman. Not like I'm challenging you to take on Axel one more time or take on Brock. No. He wants to fight Punk himself. Heyman does. Obviously, this smells like a trap. But whatever. Back in the arena, Fandango comes out. And then Kofi Kingston's music hits. And so apparently he's back after he got his ass handed to him by Ryback several weeks ago. And I also noticed while he's coming out, Kofi's wearing long tights, like pants. And I'm like, well, that's new. He normally wears the little shorts, but whatever. So obviously it's going to be Kofi and Fandango. The match goes on for a while. It's actually a decent match, mostly because of Johnny. But Kofi is able to hit the Trouble in Paradise, and he gets the win. Either way, they cut backstage to the general manager's office, basically, where Triple H is whatever. And all of a sudden, Stephanie comes up, and she's basically like sobbing because apparently Vince just chewed her out because of the whole corporate makeover thing with Bryan didn't go so well, and he was humiliated, Vince was, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, Stephanie, I can't really believe that you got chewed out by your dad because you're not crying, okay? You're a terrible actress. You have the Dixie Carter syndrome, okay? So let's not try and act. But anyways, Triple H basically gets all mad and he's like, I'm sick of Vince doing this and that, and he's basically going out there doing whatever he wants. And I'm like, well, duh, moron, he owns the fucking company. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. Not that I agree with it, but I'm just saying, you know, when you're the fucking owner of the company, you can pretty much damn well do whatever you please. As stupid as it might be, irrelevant. Vince has always done whatever the fuck he wanted. He didn't care if it was good for the show or good for the people or if it was what the people wanted. He just wants to push whoever he thinks is good, and again, he don't really care 9 ways to Sunday what we want or what we want to see. Nope. Doesn't matter what you people want. We're going to shove Cena down your fucking throats. But, yeah, Triple H is pissed about it, and he's saying he's going to try and do something at SummerSlam, Vince is, and Triple H is going to try and stop him. That's what he says. Whatever, they cut to commercial. When they come back, they show a recap of Del Rio beating the fuck out of Ricardo from earlier. And they cut back to the ring, where the Real Americans, Swagger and Cesaro, are standing there with Zeb Coulter. Coulter starts cutting a promo, and it's the same boring shit as always. insulting the hometown crowd in Green Bay, insulting their football team. Generic, cheap heel heat crap. It's really boring. And it's really lame. So, I'm just curious as to why they think this is working. But anyways, he finally gets done with his crappy promo, and the Usos come out. So it's time for a nice little tag team match. And despite the Usos sucking, this was actually a decent match. The finish, if I can remember all of it, one of the Usos was knocked out on the outside of the ring. Swagger was out there with him. Cesaro was in the ring with the other Uso, and Cesaro throws the other Uso through the ropes, and I'm guessing what the spot was supposed to be was, I'll throw you through the ropes, Swagger will crack you in the face with a forearm, and that'll knock you back and turn you around so I can hit the neutralizer on you and get the win. But it looked awful, because as the Uso comes through the ropes, Swagger was out of place or something, and he kind of stumbles, grabs the Uso by the head, and just kind of gingerly punches him in the face. It looked really weak, but the Uso sells it, he falls back into the ring, he gets cinched up for the neutralizer by Cesaro, he hits it, plants him with it, 1, 2, 3, Cesaro gets the win, and yeah, so whatever. Was an okay match, I guess, not really all that great though. After that, they hype up the main again. Or not again. I get so used to saying that, but apparently they actually didn't hype up the main event all that much tonight. But they do hype it up here, and then they also hype up the match between Ziggler and Big E, which is coming up next, actually. And then they cut to commercial. When they come out, and they come back, Ziggler comes out. And after he comes out, they recap last week when they tried to do this match the first time. And they show, of course, AJ interfering and costing Big E the match. Whatever the fuck. And then they finally come back, and Big E comes out with AJ again. And I'm like, well, if you're going to show her getting involved in the match from last week, why the hell not have her be banned from the ring this week? It would only make sense. But no, AJ's out there, and she's... Right, so AJ's out there during the match, and she looks cute as fuck, like always. Oh, it's a track. Whoop-de-doo. I don't even care anymore. Pick up the damn match. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, so, yeah, it's time for the match. And once again, another decent match. The finish is... I'm trying to think here. I think Ziggler had the upper hand, and AJ decided to jump up on the apron to try and distract the referee. And then all of a sudden the camera cuts over to the stage where Caitlin's coming out. No music or anything, but she comes running down to the ring, and she runs after AJ. I think she chases her around the ring, and then they both wind up rolling into the ring, and despite the blatant interference or whatever, the ref doesn't bother calling for the bell or anything, not like with Punk and Heyman earlier. No bell is called, but AJ and Caitlyn are kind of tussling around, and this distracts Ziggler. Ziggler's like, what the fuck are you two doing? Big E comes from behind, clocks him from behind and lays him out. AJ's kind of just rolled up in the fetal position in the corner, and Caitlyn is like, oh fuck Big E, she runs out of the ring, and Caitlyn's, she basically gets the fuck out of there. Big E picks Ziggler up, the big ending on him, and gets the win. So again, despite the blatant interference, the match was not stopped, even though it should have been, and Big E gets a cheap win on Ziggler. I'm guessing what they're going to do with this is they're going to have another match between these two at SummerSlam, and both AJ and Caitlyn will hopefully be barred from ringside, so this crap won't happen again. But anyways, after that, more hype for the main event. They cut to a commercial break. And when they come back, they say that because of what just happened, Big E and AJ will be on Miz TV this week on SmackDown. Okay, fine, whatever. Back in the arena, Daniel Bryan comes out. Then Randy Orton comes out. And then John Cena comes out. It's obviously time for the main event. But then they cut to a commercial. Yeah. When they come back, they show a recap of Punk and Brock from earlier, the fight. And they say that it has been confirmed Punk has accepted the challenge that Heyman laid out. We will have Punk versus Heyman next week on Raw. And I'm like, hold on a second. Like, I thought Punk's whole plan, and this was part of his promos from the weeks prior, I thought his whole plan was to eliminate Curtis Axel and Brock from the equation so he could have Heyman all to himself. Why would he accept a match with Heyman when Axel and Brock can still get in the way, and they probably will get in the way? I don't get this. But whatever. Apparently it's been confirmed. We're going to do this next week, so yeah. After that, they cut back to the arena, and the Shield is already halfway out. They get out of the crowd and they jump into the ring. And so it's time for our main event, the big 6-man match. And yeah. Again, quick notes. Basically what happens is the match was going for a while, and again, it was a decent match. But what ends up happening was all hell broke loose. We had pretty much everybody out of the ring except for Bryan and Rollins. And Bryan had gotten Rollins into the label lock. And so it's looking like Rollins was about to tap out, but then both Ambrose and Reigns dive into the ring to break up the move, and the referee just calls for the bell. For a DQ, and I'm like, why? This is completely legal. I don't understand why you're going to disqualify him for breaking up a move. It happens all the time, and there's never a DQ. So, what the fuck? Was it because it was both of them? Like, shouldn't they have a 5 count? Whatever. Apparently the match ended on DQ. I'm going to guess the match was awarded to Bryan, Randy, and Cena. I don't think there was ever an official decision. So maybe the match was just thrown out. I don't know. But after the match, of course, a big fight breaks out. The Shield trying to beat up Bryan, Randy, and Cena, but they get fought off, and the Shield guys kind of run off for a minute. And afterwards, Randy comes... it's Bryan and Cena, actually, who fight off the Shield. And it's looking like those two might have a face-off. But then Randy rolls into the ring, and he's right behind Bryan. He grabs him by the shoulder, swings him around, hits the RKO on him, and levels him. And then Cena's like, oh, shit, now. And he's like, you know, it's looking like these two are going to face off. But no. The Shield comes running back, and they attack some more, but they get cleared out by Randy and Cena. But then Randy's behind Cena. He does the same thing, whips Cena around, hits the fucking RKO on him. And the crowd's cheering because, again, anything to kick the hell out of Cena. And then all of a sudden, Randy starts looking over at the Money in the Bank briefcase, which is sitting over with the timekeeper, and he's like, shit, Cena's down. I could do this right now. And he's looking back and forth. He jumps out of the ring. He goes over and he grabs the briefcase and he grabs the referee and he's like, I'm doing it. He gets up on the apron, but then back comes the Shield guys one more time. And they get back in the ring, and Randy kind of drops off the apron. He just kind of leaves. And Let's see. Reigns spears the fuck out of Cena. And then Rollins and Ambrose just beat the fuck out of Bryan. And Randy's leaving. He's not gonna take... he's not gonna get his ass kicked for nothing. And back in the ring, Cena's out of the ring. It's just the 3 Shield guys with Bryan. After kicking the crap out of him for a couple of seconds, they pick him up for the triple power bomb. They plan him with it. And that's pretty much it for the show. So, yeah, there's that.
You're welcome.
So, yeah, that was it for the show. Overall, this show was really not that great. And I don't think I have actually had to say that about any of the episodes of Raw. Like, so far. They've all been, like, decent or okay, but never, like, this bad. Like, it wasn't until, like, the last half of the show where they finally started to pick things up. The first 4 damn matches were crap. You had RVD and Del Rio, which was crap, and was, of course, followed by Del Rio beating the only good thing about his character, which is Ricardo. You had Ryback and Henry, which was also crap. Ryback just walks out on the match. And then you had Tons of Funk and the Wyatts, which was also crap. Caitlyn and Layla, which was also crap. And then it wasn't until we had Christian and Slater, which was okay. And then the Punk and Axel match, which was also decent, but they didn't bother to give it a finish. And then they had the tag match between the Real Americans and the Usos, which was also decent. Ziggler and Big E, which was also decent. And the 6-man tag match, Bryan, Randy, and Cena versus The Shield, which was also decent as well. But we didn't have any good matches. We had a few decent matches, and 4 really crappy ones that started off the match. But we didn't really get anything that was good. And all this stupid horse shit of the McMahons and Triple H inserting themselves into this storyline between Bryan and Cena. It's just like, can you guys just fuck off? We don't want to see the McMahons. So, you know. But whatever. Again, overall, the show wasn't really that great. You had a couple of decent matches. But when you start off the show with 4 crappy matches, it's not a good idea. You know. So, yeah. Kind of at a loss for words with this. Don't really know exactly what to say. I'm kind of having a flashback from WrestleMania. WrestleMania sucked. And this show feels a lot like WrestleMania. It really wasn't that good. So. Anyways, that was Raw for August 5th, 2013. Green Bay, Wisconsin. I had to get that in there, sorry. He's floundering in TNA right now, Mr. Anderson. He's supposedly the vice president of the Aces and Eights. He's playing second fiddle to Bully Ray. Fuck off. Anyways, Raw wasn't that good tonight. And apparently we still have like 2 more weeks until SummerSlam. I'm pretty sure that's what they said. It's might be a bit hard to watch Raw and SmackDown for the next couple of weeks to get to SummerSlam. I'm trying to think of what all matches have been announced for SummerSlam. Apparently, obviously, we got Brock and Punk. We've got Bryan and Cena for the WWE title. We've got Christian and Del Rio for the World Heavyweight title. Nothing has been announced for the Intercontinental title. Nothing has been announced for the U.S. title. Nothing has been announced for the tag team titles. The Shield, they were still kind of feuding with the Usos, and then that kind of just petered off. And they were also had something going with Mark Henry, and that just kind of petered off too. And hell if I know, man. I don't know. From the way they were building the Real Americans, it's looking like they might end up with a tag team title shot. But then who's going to challenge Ambrose for the U.S. title? I don't know. Don't know who the hell's going to challenge for the Intercontinental title either. But then again, they may not even do any of these titles for the pay-per-view, which would suck, though. Like, a pay-per-view should have every title on the line. And I know that's what they were doing the shtick with Night of Champions for a while. But, like, you shouldn't need one pay-per-view a year where all the titles have to be on the line. That should be every pay-per-view. You know? You build up to these title matches to make them mean something, and then you have a good match with a good payoff. Either the title changes hands, or, you know, maybe the heel cheats to keep the belt, or whatever the fuck. You know, you gotta do something. You can't just have these titles go undefended, you know? Whatever. Ranting aside, once again, Raw was not that good tonight. I'm hoping it'll be better next week, and we will see about SmackDown. So join us on Friday for SmackDown if you would, please. And we will see you then. Thank you for watching, and good night.